there's a difference between playing a finite game and an infinite game.
Yes.
Right. And I think sort of businesses at the early part of the 20th century, I think their mindset was very much about the infinite game. It was always about building, and that building was never necessarily at the compromise of people or its customers. It was about how do we play this out. And certainly the way, I mean, if you think about it, why does a privately held business need to have a quarterly report?
It does not.
It does not.
If you're privately held, they do not.
Right. And yet the mindset for a lot of businesses still have that kind of view, because actually, again, back in the 70s, and 80s, when this was all shifting and suddenly, the world around operating businesses became a finite game to getting maximized shareholder value, was all driven around finite measures within a finite period of time. And all trying to be able to win share of market in a finite period of time. And that kind of changed the focus of how businesses operate. And then as more and more businesses became fueled by private equity, by VC, by VC capital coming in. Again, the mechanics all driven by a finite mindset. And that by itself has bearing on so many things in terms of corporate conduct. And in some cases, and we've seen this in the last few months, right, where a lot of businesses, for the ambition of growth and maybe some greed, sold themselves out to a lot of venture capital, and all of a sudden the conditions have changed dramatically because of the environment we're in the moment.
Yes.
And suddenly that's a compromise. That's a compromise for perhaps the mission that owner started out with, in terms of they wanted to do something quote unquote good. Not that was necessarily a do good business, but they wanted to do something good because they saw an opportunity. Then they go out, and because they've got that ambition, they've got that drive, and they bring in that VC, and all of a sudden, a friend of mine actually recently just left as the CEO of a company. They were bought out by a big network, and again, they kind of sold themselves to the devil, right?
Yes.
And all of a sudden, the reasons that they were doing what they were doing, even though they thought they could do more of it because they were going to get this investor in, and it happens so often, it's not an unusual story, that again, the cultural shift that is mandated, not because of desire, but because of the expectations that external influence, that external money suddenly has on the business, ruins that vision, ruins that mission, which was much more than just money.
So common. Yeah, it's so common. I remember I read an interview, or not read an interview, I heard an interview with a girl that had, you know the company Body Shop? Like this retail, yeah. So Body Shop was sold to L'Oreal many years ago, right?
Yeah.
And basically, that was exactly the story. She had a very real purpose with Body Shop, the way she treated her employees, what she tried to do to the beauty industry, all of that stuff. And when L'Oreal purchased the company, they basically said, we're going to expand that, we're going to make it better. You know, they gave her all of the promises, everything to close the deal. And then once she was gobbled up by L'Oreal, it just changed. Like just tiny steps over time. It's like, we'll just remove these benefits for your employees. You know, we'll just change this. We'll just put this product in. And she also ended up leaving. And I've seen that so many times.